Hi everyone. This is experiment number 10 and hopefully the last experiment in the term. And it is about the introduction to interrupts. Okay. So what we have done so far is that we are running the program line by line in sequential order. Okay. And the idea of interrupts is that whenever the interrupt happens anywhere in the program, it will stop what is it doing and then it will go do a certain job, then it will continue. All right, we'll talk about this now in more details, but just to remind you, I'll go to remember the experiment, this one of these experiments, where we have 3 LEDs, okay? So we were actually like having, if the button is not pressed, this will be turning in this direction, and then this direction, and then this direction. So it will be turning, sorry, it will be turned on, in this direction, okay? Whenever I press the button, it should change the order. So if you remember, if this is on, for example, and now it is turning this on, and I press the button and remove my hand, and it comes and read again, it's reading 0, so it will continue. So you have to keep pressing until this finished, and then it will read before you remove your hand, and then it will actually change the direction. The idea of the interrupt, wherever you are from the program, is that even if you are here and the next instruction is to turn this one on without reading in the order, so whenever I press this push button and the program is turning this on, it will change the direction directly, immediately. It doesn't need to wait until this finished to read the switch. Okay? So that's the idea of interrupt. All right, so I'll talk about the interrupts, and we're going to talk about 2 interrupts. Okay, so we will go to, for example, this register, and this register we have, it's called interrupt enable register. So if I want to use interrupts, I have to turn enable the interrupt. This is the global one, so I have to make this one, for example. Okay, so this is one. Now the corresponding ones have to be like the one that the interrupt that I need to use has to be 1. So for example, if I need timer 0 to work as interrupt, I have to make it this one, for example, and the others are 0. Okay, and this way I'm enabling in the interrupt where in the timer 0. Okay, while if this is 0 and many of them are actually 1s, these interrupts are not activated. Okay, so we have several types of interrupts. We have the external interrupt 0 and 1, and timer interrupt 0 and 1, and others. Okay, so the first thing that if I need to use interrupt is to enable this one. Okay, so for example, if I go down, you can see here the types of the interrupt. So you can set with each one by itself, or you can like send to the IE register the value, for example, like this. So in this case, he's enabling the first bit, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in this case, he's actually enabling interrupt 1, and he is enabling the interrupt. Okay, so the timer 1 will be working as an interrupt. All right, so let me go down now. Okay, this is, we have here what we call the priority. Okay, so suppose that I'm enabling all of them at the same time, and for example, let's say that this and this and this interrupt, all of them are happening at the same time. So what it will do, it will first execute the function related to interrupt 0, and then to interrupt 1, and then to this interrupt. Okay. Now this is the predefined order. I can change the order by changing the interrupt priority. For example, I can make this one 1 and the other 0. So if I do this one, this will be the highest interrupt, X1. So this is what it means for both of these, columns. Right. In الآن, I have vector address. They call this is the address of the interrupt if they are going to be used. All right. Let me try to open the Excel sheet. So let me clean this. Okay. Now let's say that this is the ROM, for example. So this is the ROM. And I have here location 0000 and then 0001. So you do it that way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and up to, let's say, A, 000A, and then 000B, for example. Okay, and so on. So if you remember, we originate from 0 and we are writing our code in here. Okay, it doesn't matter because I'm not using the interrupt. All right. So if I write the mic, let me go to the mic. And for example, I'm writing this. Okay, so let me build this one now. Build and simulate. I'd like to show you the internal content now. So if you look at the addresses of the ROM, you can see that location 01. So all of my code is starting from 0, right? And as you know, if I'm turning the microcontroller on, the first instruction, the instruction pointer will be pointing to this address. So anything that is on this line will be executed. Okay. Right. Let me go back here. So what he's saying here, if I'm using only this interrupt, okay, which is 03, which means that I can use only location 0, 1, 2, and anything after this code. What I mean is that if I'm using this interrupt, so for example, I go to location number 3, okay, and what should I write here, for example? I'm not sure how many of them it will take, how many bytes. So I will say move A number 5 and then add A number 5. By the way, I don't know how many bytes, so this might be like 4 bytes, so it might be ending up to 6 or 7. All right. Am I using anything else after that? No. So this is all what I need. But for that interrupt to happen, it will go to location corresponding to that interrupt. Let me come here to explain more. Okay. Let me just expand. I hope that I can see it. Okay. So these two are connected to the external interrupt, which means that if I'm pressing this one, I'm doing external interrupt 0. If I'm pressing the other one, I'm doing external interrupt number 2. All right. So if I'm pressing here, what will the program do? What will the program do? It will stop what it is. It will finish the instruction. Then it's going to this address, execute this one, execute the other one, and then at the end you have to have return from interrupt. All right. So they call this function, the interrupt subroutine or the function of the interrupt. Okay. Let me come here. Let's talk about this now. Okay. So what I can do, for example, I say originate DB. I'm using only one interrupt, right? And then okay. And then you're going to write your program, right? Let's say you are writing, for example, move A number 5. Sorry, add A number 4, for example, and then return from interrupt. Let's see what happens if I'm going to run this program. So let's say, okay, let's build and simulate. So you can see there is no instruction here. So what I'm doing here is actually nothing. When I reach to that location, which is 3B, I think, how much did I put? I think it's 3. Okay, so it's a 3H. So you can see these 3 lines now starting from this location. This will be my starting point for the function of the interrupt. So if you run here, you can see there is nothing will happen, but it is starting from here. Now your job is simply, I just will make it simple. At this line, jump to another location to write your main program. Okay. يعني هنا مثلا what I can do, originate 0, short jump مثلا to whatever, because I don't know. I will say, for example, main, and then I will say here main. And then, for example, add A number 5. Okay, and then short jump to main. All right. Then I will do this one. See what will happen now. Now, after that, it's going to main, but I can also, like, the main is coming directly after this instruction. What I can also do, like, I can say originate, for example, 30H, if I'm using more than one interrupt, and say jump to main, which is this one, or jump to 30. So there is no need for this one, but I will keep it. All right. So let's see what happens. Okay. You can see that I have to run my main program, but I have to avoid this location. I'm not going to use it for my program. I can use this since my program has finished, but I can put it anywhere else. So here he's jumping somewhere. See, he will be doing these two infinitely. Okay. So it is like doing a main jump. Now, if there is an interrupt, if I push that button, what will happen? راح ياخذ على افتراض انه هو now he is executing this instruction. Okay. And during this execution, I push the button. So what will happen? The address of this instruction will be saved. The address of, the address of move, which is 3, will be put to the instruction pointer. And then after finishing or running these two, when he return, he will retrieve the address of the short jump. So he will retrieve this one, and then he will keep running. If I have another interrupt, it has a corresponding function. Where should I write that function? So for example,